This is a fairly rustic temple. Hey, what's up everybody? This is swgg on with swgg Gaming, bringing you another World of Warcraft Battle for Azeroth beta first look video. Today we will be looking at the Havoc Demon Hunter. Most of the Havoc baseline spells have had minor changes, but the talents are where the bulk of the playstyle adjustments are happening. Before we jump into the changes, I just want to remind everyone that this information is all from the beta test server and everything is subject to change. From what I can tell, there were no spells or abilities that were straight up removed from the Havoc Demon Hunter spellbook, but there were minor changes throughout. Blade Dance and Throw Glaive have had their base cooldowns reduced from 10 to 9 seconds. Consume Magic, our interrupt, has had its range reduced from 20 to 10 yards. This doesn't sound like a huge deal, but it is quite annoying while leveling and will probably have a significant impact on PvP. Imprison has had its cooldown increase from 15 to 45 seconds as well. The Darkness tooltip has been changed from 20% to 0%, but I'm sure this is either a bug or they are just not set on how powerful they want to make it yet. I'm hoping they increase the effectiveness to make it an even more powerful raid tool. Metamorphosis has had its base cooldown reduced from 5 to 4 minutes. This is actually a longer cooldown than on live because with points in your artifact weapon, your base cooldown is at 3.5 minutes. Chaos Nova has been changed from a stun to a disorient, so the CC provided can now be broken on damage taken. They've also added a 50% chance per target to generate a lesser soul fragment. The classification change to a disorient, of course, is a huge nerf, but for leveling purposes, the lesser soul fragment generation is pretty amazing. I-Beam has had its base fury cost reduced from 50 to 30, and its base cooldown reduced from 45 to 30 seconds. It keeps its 100% chance to crit, and does 100% increased damage to your primary target. These changes look like they are meant to keep I-Beam in the single target rotation, even with the loss of the buffs from the current tier set. Chaos Strike functions in the same way, but the refund of Fury is calculated differently than on live Legion servers. Right now, Critical Strikes refund Fury, but on the beta server they have given Chaos Strike a straight 40% chance to refund the same 20 Fury. This is an interesting change. You will not be able to increase your Fury generation by stacking crit anymore, but it also allows for more customization with gear and other secondary stats. It also appears that the movement speed buff from Mastery has been nerfed. On live, 15% Mastery gets you around 9% movement speed, but on beta you only see 5.8% movement speed increase for the same 15% Mastery. That being said, it does appear that it may be easier to increase your secondary stats through gear than it currently is on live. Havoc Demon Hunters have also received 2 new baseline spells. The first one is Torment, which is just your typical taunt. This may be cool for metamorphosis tanking or using it in conjunction with Blur or another walk. The second one is a brand new passive spell called Chaos Brand. This spell makes your damage brand the target, increasing magic damage taken by 5%. This is a nice little raid buff to help secure your raid spot just in case Havoc turns out to be undertuned. On top of the baseline spell changes, there were quite a few talents that were either moved, changed, or replaced outright. In Tier 1, Demonic Appetite was moved in from Tier 2 and has replaced Fel Mastery. The Fury generation per pickup was nerfed from 35 to 30, and the 25% proc chance was removed from the tooltip. The Datamine version of this talent shows approximately 6 procs per minute, but while testing it appears to be very similar to what is on live servers now. Blind Fury was unchanged, and Fellblade was buffed to generate 50 Fury instead of 30. For Tier 2, Demon Blades has remained unchanged, Demonic Appetite has been moved to Tier 1, and Prepared has been removed completely. There are now 2 new talents added to this row. The first is Insatiable Hunger. This is like the Anger of the Half-Giant's legendary ring and gives Demon Bite additional Fury generation. The other new talent in this tier is Immolation Aura. This was essentially ported over from Vengeance spec as a burst AoE fire damage over 10 seconds on a 30-second cooldown. This is a pretty cool ability and is great for leveling in dungeons. Both Chaos Cleave and Bloodlet in Tier 3 have been removed from the game, and First Blood was moved into Tier 5. Instead, we see Fel Mastery, which has moved from Tier 1, Fel Barrage from Tier 7, and a new spell called Trail of Ruin. Fel Mastery has been tweaked to no longer include any Fury generation, but increases Fel Rush damage by 100% instead of the 30% you see on live. Fel Barrage has had an overhaul as well, and is now a straight AoE spell instead of a targeted spell with splash damage. It has also had its active duration increased from 2 to 3 seconds, and the cooldown reduction portion removed. This is a very high damage spell, and I can see it being used for single target encounters as well. Veil of Ruin is the new talent in this tier, and it makes the final slash of Blade Dance inflict chaos damage over 4 seconds. I'm not sure how useful this will be for raids, but for leveling, Fel Barrage is the clear choice on this tier. Tier 4 has all of the same talents as on live, with Netherwalk and Desperate Instincts unchanged. Soul Rending was changed from 70% additional leech while meta is active, to 10% baseline leech plus an additional 10% while meta is active. This is a pretty nice passive boost to survivability in both solo and multiplayer content. Tier 5 sees all 3 current talents moved to different tiers. First Blood was moved in from Tier 3 and is unchanged, and 2 new talents were added. Cycle of Hatred reduces the cooldown on meta by 3 seconds when Chaos Strike refunds Fury. This is similar to the Delusions of Grandeur Legendary Shoulders, but has an added layer of RNG instead of straight Fury usage. Because you won't be able to control this and line up everything with your cooldown windows, this seems like it's probably going to be a dead talent. Dark Slash is the other new talent in this tier and is a melee ability with a 20-second cooldown. It does some physical damage and increases your Chaos Strike damage against your target by 40% for 8 seconds. These types of talents are typically very good or bad, so it may be the case that we are locked into this talent. In Tier 6, Master of the Glaive has had its second charge removed, but otherwise remains the same. With the loss of Bloodlet and the second charge, this is a very underwhelming talent. Unleash Power remains unchanged, but the power level of this talent does change slightly now that Chaos Nova is no longer a stun. Demon Reborn has been removed from the game, and Fel Eruption was moved in to replace it. Fel Eruption has had its stun duration increased from 2 to 4 seconds, but had its bonus damage against stun immune targets removed, making it a very situational talent choice. Tier 7 had Chaos Blades removed, Fel Barrage moved out, and Momentum and Nemesis put in their place. Nemesis remains unchanged, but Momentum had a slight overhaul. The bonus damage gained from Momentum was changed from 20% for 4 seconds to 15% for 6 seconds. This would be a slight buff to overall damage, but Vengeful Retreat no longer gives you the damage bonus, so there's a pretty big drop off in terms of pure damage output. Momentum instead reduces the cooldown of Vengeful Retreat by 5 seconds and makes it generate 100 Fury over 10 seconds if it damages at least one enemy. The last talent in this tier is Demonic, and it is unchanged from current live Legion servers. Overall, I would say that losing some of the artifact weapon bonuses, including Fury of the Illidari, hurts more than I thought it would. They make up for some of these changes with intriguing new talents, and the movement of old talents gives the opportunity for new builds and customization for different encounters. The class itself plays pretty smoothly, but I do have some long-term concerns. Mainly, I am wondering if the change to Fury refund for Chaos Strike and the loss of the Legendary Ring will bring about Fury generation issues. So far, I have not noticed this too much, but I have also not done any max level raid testing. The other concern I have is the new talent Dark Slash. This is the kind of ability that is either worth taking or not, and really leaves no wiggle room. If it is extremely powerful, we may be locked into taking it and spamming Chaos Strike repeatedly, and if it's not good, we may just not have the damage output necessary to compete with other pure DPS classes. I do appreciate that Blizzard has added some extra utility in the form of Chaos Brand and Taunt. Hopefully they will buff Darkness, and these will be enough to bring at least one Demon Hunter along if their DPS falls behind other classes. That's all I have for now. I'll make sure to post any minor updates to these changes in the description below. Thanks for watching, and have a great one.